Hi everyone, Matt Bernier, Dan Illman, taking a look back at last week's Sycamore Stakes from Keeneland down in Lexington, Kentucky, on a mile-and-a-half on the turf course. They break from the gate. You're going to notice you get a couple of horses that want to be forwardly placed. Infinite Wisdom, Hardest Core, who was a little bit lit up early on in the running. They're going to go out there and they're going to set a pretty, look, the opening quarter may not look that fast. I think it was a little bit quicker than it may look.
I agree 1,000%. They go the opening quarter in 25-4, but it is a pressured opening quarter, and they go faster the second and third parts of it. Meanwhile, the eventual winner of this race, Big Bend, the number 11, is sitting in a very comfortable spot throughout under Drayden Van Dyke.
Another horse that's going to figure prominently is caught about 3 or 4 paths wide right now. That's Flashy Chelsea and those pink silks out there for Mike Maker, a horse that ultimately was only beaten by a handful of lengths. And when you consider the ground loss and pushing these sort of interior splits that heat up a little bit, I consider a decent effort.
If you want to make the case that he's really the only part of the pace that's sticking around to the end, I can certainly upgrade him a little bit. But look in the spot he's in right now. He's tracking 2 long shots all by himself while feeling no pressure. He'll eventually take over this thing with a big chance, 5/16 of a mile to run. He just doesn't have the class to step with the top 3.
And meanwhile, just a few lengths behind him is the eventual winner, Big Bend, toward the rear of the pack, who horses that maybe at face value were a little bit compromised with that opening quarter, horses like Manitoul and Soman TMA as well as Canissar. Really, with these interior fractions, I kind of think the opening quarter was kind of mitigated.
I agree. Manitoulin had to be taken back because he drew such a terrible outside post position. Summon Tieme maybe is a horse you want to follow because it was his first race off of a long layoff, and he's the number 2 in here, and he's going to get shuffled back a little bit down towards the inside before only finishing evenly. But still, to me, it was still somewhat disappointing.
Right about now, we're going to see the running start to pick up. We're going to see Flashy Chelsea start to go. Following just in behind him is going to be Drayden Van Dyke with your eventual winner, Big Bend. You're going to see some of these horses from the back of the pack try to start making these big wide moves, including Canissar, but ultimately I think the distance, the ground that they had to make up, and they kind of spotted these horses, that was too much to overcome, obviously.
Canissar is in between horses at the back of the pack. It's not an ideal spot, and he's going to come with a solid enough run. But here's the key moment in the race. Big Bend is right in front of Nessie, the runner-up in the blue silks. Big Bend just is faster on the turns and is able to accelerate quicker. Nessie, once he gets that big engine rolling, is able to grind into this lead, but Big Bend put away Flashy Chelsea with really no fuss, and now is holding off the late charging Nessie. But that's quick acceleration. The difference in acceleration was the difference in this race.
Big Ben goes on to get the job done. Nessie, a valiant effort to run second. Then on the inside, you saw Canissar coming from the back of the pack, weaving throughout traffic. Big Ben gets the job done and pays $39 on top. $13.80 to place, $8.20 to show. Nessie pays $12 to place. Canissar $4.20 to show. $1 exact comes back $2.35.40. 50-cent try, $913.05. Big Bend is a 3-year-old, and he seems to be getting better and better for Tom Proctor.
Ever since they've gotten him on the grass, he has gotten better. One of only 2 3-year-olds in this race. Maybe upgrade his performance simply because of that. He's by Union Rags. Distance, of course, isn't a problem at a mile and a half. I'm just not sure what I thought of this race overall. I was looking for some trouble lines. We see that often in these turf marathons. I thought for the most part, everybody had a fair chance to win this race. I think Big Ben ran his usual race, but from a Beyer speed figure standpoint, didn't really knock my socks off. And it didn't make me think that even if Big Ben takes a necessary step forward as a 4-year-old, he's going to be in the upper echelon of the division. 92
Beyer speed figure, 118 Timeform US rating. Timeform US also had those interior splits that we talked about, color-coded red. Oddly enough, they had the 1.25 mile split coded as blue, so it almost felt like on that far turn, maybe they kind of throttled it back a little bit. Big Ben, I agree with you. I don't think he's going to ultimately be some kind of superstar, but he's proven that distance isn't going to be an issue for him, which is more than many horses can already say. He's proven that Kentucky Downs is a place that he can win. He's proven that Keeneland is a place that he can run at. And the other thing that was, I think, most important about this race, he proved that he doesn't have to have the lead. All of his victories prior to this had been gate-to-wire.
That was a really big thing for him. And he relaxed so sweetly going into the backstretch the first time. There was never an issue with him pulling or being rank or being headstrong or expending a lot of valuable energy that he needed in the stretch here. That was a big step forward. I would assume that he'll take a break now over the winter, and why can't he be a factor in these long-distance races? There's one big win at Keeneland in the spring next year.
Nessie, we kind of know Nessie at this point in the game.
That's why I really don't think much of this race. Yeah. I mean, Nessie is a hard-trying horse that had been compromised by slow to moderate paces in some of his prior starts. He got the pace, especially in the internal fractions, the second, third, fourth fraction here. But we know Nessie, and the fact that he came within 3/4 of a length of winning a graded stakes race at Keeneland makes me question the overall quality of this field.
Canissar for Arnaud Delacour, only the second lifetime start here in North America. Do you want to give him any sort of benefit of the doubt and say, you know, a little bit more racing here in the States, maybe there's an improvement?
Probably of the top three, he was in the worst position when the real racing began because he still had a lot of work to do. And yes, fast, but Big Bend and Nessie were also taking advantage of that pace from mid-pack. Canissar did alter course down to the inside. He finished well. I think he might be this kind of horse, a grade 3 that we'll probably see again at Keeneland in the spring. Why can't he run like you know, the mile-and-a-half race at Arlington Park over the summer? I think he's okay. I just don't think he's, you know, a Breeders' Cup Turf special.
You and I both liked Soman Tieme coming into this. We hadn't seen him since May. Obviously, he'd been gone for some time, had a big gap in the workout tab in September. Maybe the trip was less than ideal, but at the same time, you got to do some running.
You got to do some running. I mean, he was steady down towards the inside pretty much when the race started to heat up and the top two began their moves. The problem was when he got clear in the stretch, you and I expected him to do what he did at Churchill Downs, and that was change leads on cue and come with a nice run, maybe not enough to win, but a nice run to show that, okay, all's well next time in the important second start of the form cycle. We didn't see that. It took him a while to change leads. Once he did, he finished with a little bit of interest, but it didn't seem like the same horse that we saw at Churchill Downs. Usually when they win big races, they don't go away for a long time without there being a fairly substantial reason. Whether Soman Tieme will improve second time out, we have to expect he will. Maybe getting back to Churchill Downs will be key for him. I'm just not sure if we're ever going to see that race again that we saw at Churchill.
The two horses that were most forwardly placed throughout, you had Infinite Wisdom, Hardest Core. Infinite Wisdom, we have to keep in mind his big win to date came when he walked on the lead up at Saratoga. Hardest Core one time won the Arlington Million, but boy, that was many, many moons ago.
Yeah, Hardest Core doesn't know his connection to anything at this point, and this pace might have been a little bit fast for him. I really don't want to hold this race against him. It's just the way he was coming into this race, it didn't seem like he had the same form that he was obviously before those injury-induced layoffs. And Infinite Wisdom, again, he deserves another chance, let's say, if he shows up in a similar race and there's no speed whatsoever, and he has a chance to go 52 and change to the half. But the way he packed it in was somewhat discouraging as well.
Big Bend, one of the 2 3-year-olds in this race against older horses, gets the job done for Tom Proctor and Drayden Van Dyke. They all win the Sycamore Stakes with a 92 Beyer speed figure.